Malia Obama recently made her directorial debut at the Sundance Film Festival with a short film called The Heart.
When Michelle Obama decided not to attend Donald Trump's inauguration in January 2017, her absence was not just a political statement. It was a glaring sign of resistance to the incoming administration. At the time, it seemed like a simple protest against Trump, a move many expected from the former First Lady. However, as the years have gone on, it has become clear that Michelle Obama's actions went far beyond the inauguration snub. Her focus shifted to a narrative that stood in stark contrast to Trump's vision for America. In doing so, she would inadvertently set herself up as a primary figure for the opposition while missing a golden opportunity to promote unity in an era that was desperately in need of it. Michelle Obama's absence at the inauguration of Donald Trump was not just an emotional response to the election result but part of a larger, sustained effort to challenge the newly elected president and what he represented. In refusing to attend the ceremony, she publicly rejected not only Trump but the values that millions of Americans had voted for, values that reflected a desire for a return to traditional American greatness and a rejection of the political establishment. One of the key messages that Donald Trump presented during his presidential campaign was about unity and bridging the divide that had been growing between the American people and the government. His message of "Make America Great Again" resonated deeply with working-class Americans who felt left behind by Washington elites. His promise to focus on jobs, border security, and a foreign policy that put America first offered hope to many who believed the establishment had forgotten them. However, Michelle Obama's refusal to attend his inauguration signaled something much different. Her absence was not just a personal decision but a missed opportunity to unite a divided country. As First Lady, Michelle had been a symbol of grace and dignity. Her choice to not participate in this pivotal moment of American democracy not only alienated herself from millions of Americans who supported Trump but also reflected a broader disregard for the peaceful transfer of power, a cornerstone of American democracy. While Michelle Obama focused on speaking out and criticizing the new administration, Trump and his supporters saw her absence as a clear sign of the political elite's unwillingness to respect the outcome of the election. The left-wing refusal to come to terms with Trump's victory played a significant role in deepening divisions in the country, an unfortunate reality that became evident in the years that followed. Unlike the political figures who have focused on obstructing Trump's policies and undermining his initiatives, Michelle Obama's post-inauguration approach was to encourage further division by promoting progressive causes that frequently stood in contrast to Trump's agenda. From her "Let's Move" campaign that championed childhood nutrition to her Reach Higher initiative that focused on college readiness, Michelle Obama used her platform to push for social change, but in ways that often undermined Trump's vision for a stronger, more self-reliant nation. One key example was Michelle Obama's constant advocacy for healthcare reform. During the Obama administration, she and her husband pushed through the Affordable Care Act, Obamacare, which was designed to provide universal healthcare coverage. However, under Trump's leadership, there was a clear shift toward more market-driven solutions to healthcare, policies that focused on competition, lower premiums, and state flexibility. While Michelle Obama continued to champion her husband's healthcare reforms, Trump's administration worked tirelessly to ensure that Americans had more choices, lower costs, and a healthcare system that was more sustainable for the future. The stark differences between their approaches were never clearer than during the healthcare debate. While Michelle Obama emphasized government control, Trump and his administration focused on empowering individuals and states to make decisions that suited their unique needs. This difference in approach highlighted the broader ideological divide between Michelle Obama's progressive stance and Trump's conservative vision. In the years since Trump's inauguration, Michelle Obama has continuously positioned herself as one of the key figures in the political opposition. She used her high-profile platform to endorse candidates who ran on platforms directly opposed to Trump's policies. In 2018, Michelle Obama was an outspoken supporter of Democratic candidates in the midterm elections, backing individuals who had been critical of Trump and advocating for policies that aligned with her progressive values. Rather than taking a step back and allowing the American people to decide the direction of the country, Michelle Obama chose to double down on her criticism of the Trump administration. From immigration to foreign policy, Michelle Obama's stance was often at odds with the president's approach. Her public refusal to accept Trump's leadership was clear in every speech and every campaign appearance she made in the years following the 2016 election. Despite her significant influence and popularity, Michelle Obama's decision to continuously attack Trump from the sidelines had unintended consequences. Rather than helping to bring about meaningful political discourse, her actions created more polarization in a country already divided. Her refusal to acknowledge Trump's successes and his efforts to create jobs, secure the border, and stand firm on the world stage only further emboldened the divide between left-wing progressives and right-wing conservatives. While Michelle Obama chose to focus on her advocacy work, Donald Trump was busy delivering on the promises that earned him the support of millions of Americans. Under Trump's leadership, the U.S. saw historic unemployment lows, tax cuts that benefited businesses and working-class families, and major strides in rebuilding the military. His administration's tough stance on China, renegotiation of trade deals, and efforts to bring jobs back to America were significant victories for many who had felt neglected under previous administrations. Trump's approach to foreign policy, particularly his ability to broker peace deals in the Middle East, was an achievement that Michelle Obama never fully acknowledged. The Abraham Accords, which normalized relations between Israel and several Arab nations, represented a significant shift in global diplomacy and were one of the most consequential foreign policy successes of the Trump presidency. Yet, Michelle Obama's criticism of Trump's foreign policy often failed to recognize the historic impact of his efforts in the Middle East and his ability to push back against China's aggressive behavior. Michelle Obama's efforts to push progressive causes were admirable, but they often lacked the pragmatism that characterized Trump's approach to governance. While Michelle focused on what she perceived as necessary societal change, Trump remained committed to fulfilling the promises he made to American voters, regardless of whether his actions were politically correct or well received by the elites. Trump's legacy was putting America first. While Michelle Obama's post-inauguration actions were often rooted in progressive ideals, Trump's legacy is defined by his unwavering commitment to putting America first. His America First policies reshaped the U.S. economy, restored confidence in the American worker, and sought to ensure that the U.S. remained a global leader. Michelle Obama, in her continuous criticism, missed the opportunity to acknowledge the many areas where Trump delivered on the concerns of ordinary Americans. Michelle Obama's choice to reject Trump's inauguration was part of a broader narrative that saw her as a leader of the opposition, fighting for a progressive agenda. While she undoubtedly remains a popular and influential figure, her refusal to accept Trump's victory and her constant opposition to his policies left her out of step with many Americans who appreciated his unapologetic leadership. As Trump continues to make his mark on American history, Michelle Obama's legacy will remain intertwined with her unwillingness to unite the country, setting her apart from the president's message of strength, unity, and prosperity for all Americans. Through it all, Michelle Obama's choice to skip Trump's inauguration was not just a personal decision. It was a symbolic act of defiance against the president's vision for the country. While her decision may have been rooted in personal conviction, it also reflected a deeper divide that continues to shape American politics to this day. By choosing to take a stand against Trump from the very beginning, Michelle Obama inadvertently confirmed her role as a prominent figure in the ongoing battle for the soul of America. Fox News host Sean Hannity found himself at the center of controversy when he was unknowingly recorded during a private moment. The incident, which was initially intended to be an off-the-record conversation, quickly turned into a public spectacle that had far-reaching implications for both Hannity's career and his reputation. It was a regular day for Sean Hannity, the outspoken conservative commentator known for his direct and often polarizing views. For years, he had built a reputation as one of the most powerful figures in American media, with significant influence on conservative politics and a loyal following of viewers. However, this particular day would prove to be one of the most defining moments of his career, though not for reasons he had ever anticipated. The setting was an informal gathering where Hannity was meeting with a few colleagues, political allies, and business associates. The conversation initially revolved around political topics, but it quickly became more personal. In the midst of discussing various current events and public figures, Hannity's tone shifted. He began to speak more candidly about his political opinions, his relationships with other media figures, and his strategies for dealing with criticisms from his opponents. The meeting was being held in a private office with only a few people in the room. As the conversation unfolded, one individual, for reasons that would later become clear, had decided to turn on a recording device. The person, who was sitting among the group but remained largely silent, did not reveal their intentions until later. It wasn't until the conversation took a more contentious turn that Hannity began to realize something was amiss. At first, there was nothing to suggest that the conversation would go any further than the group present. Hannity was simply speaking in his usual direct and unfiltered manner, unaware that he was being recorded. He touched on several sensitive topics, including criticisms he had received from political opponents, the inner workings of the media industry, and his own personal ambitions within the political landscape. However, as the conversation went on, Hannity became more animated and passionate, especially when discussing his views on how the media and political establishments were handling issues such as the ongoing political climate, the treatment of conservative voices in mainstream media, and the challenges he faced as a prominent figure in the industry. The turning point in the conversation came when the topic of rival political figures and media personalities entered the discussion. Hannity, known for his sharp criticisms of political opponents, was at his most candid. He began to speak about his feelings towards certain colleagues and competitors in the media, making disparaging remarks about their character, work ethics, and personal lives. He went on to express his frustration with how the media landscape had evolved, with particular disdain for the rise of social media influencers and online platforms that seem to be bypassing traditional news outlets. While this level of honesty may have seemed like just another example of Hannity's typical brash demeanor, the tone he took during this conversation suggested that he was more frustrated and vulnerable than ever before. The remarks he made were personal and, in some instances, borderline inflammatory. There was no denying that his anger was evident in every word he spoke. As the conversation continued, Hannity became more openly critical of several public figures. He spoke with contempt about some well-known politicians, insinuating that their actions were more about personal gain than genuine political engagement. While some of his comments were relatively innocuous, others were more pointed and had the potential to stir up major controversies. The conversation then shifted to more personal matters, as Hannity revealed frustrations over certain business ventures and the way his public image had been shaped over the years. He lamented how the media often portrayed him in ways that didn't reflect his true views, and he expressed a sense of disillusionment with his career. Hannity, who had long been a fierce defender of conservative values, admitted to feeling overwhelmed by the constant scrutiny he faced in the media. His comments, made in private, exposed a more vulnerable side of the media mogul than many of his viewers had ever seen. It wasn't until much later in the conversation that Hannity realized he had been recorded. His voice began to change when he noticed the silence in the room. Something felt different. His audience had shifted from his usual television viewers to someone who had chosen to remain anonymous, someone who was now listening to his every word. A brief, almost imperceptible pause occurred in the conversation, and it was in that instant that the person recording the discussion made their move. Hannity's demeanor abruptly changed. He quickly became more cautious in his speech, careful not to make any further remarks that could be construed as offensive or damaging. The unintentional recording had caught him in a raw moment, but once he realized the situation, he began to recalibrate his language, ensuring that his statements were more measured and less revealing. It was clear that he was aware of the potential consequences of his words, but the damage had already been done. The recorded conversation, once leaked to the public, revealed a side of Hannity that many of his followers were not accustomed to seeing. While he had long been known for his sharp, confident rhetoric on television, the private conversation showcased a more vulnerable and human side of the television personality. The aftermath and public response once the recording was leaked, the media reacted quickly. Hannity's remarks were immediately picked up by news outlets, social media platforms, and political commentators. The controversy surrounding the leaked audio sent shockwaves through both the media and political landscapes. Some saw it as a rare glimpse into the true nature of a public figure who had built his brand on a persona of unwavering confidence and conservative values. Others saw it as a betrayal of the trust his followers had placed in him, believing that his private frustrations painted a less flattering picture of the man behind the screen. The recording became a major talking point in the media, with experts and analysts offering their takes on the incident. Some defended Hannity, arguing that the private conversation was taken out of context and that everyone experiences moments of frustration or vulnerability. Others, however, pointed out the hypocrisy in Hannity's statements, especially given his public stance on issues like media integrity, public accountability, and the need for conservative voices to remain steadfast in their beliefs. Hannity himself addressed the controversy publicly. In a statement, he acknowledged that he had been caught in an unguarded moment but argued that his remarks were made in private and should not be taken as representative of his public persona. He apologized to anyone who might have been offended by his comments and emphasized that his commitment to conservative values remained unchanged. Despite his apology, the incident left a lingering effect on Hannity's reputation. Many of his critics seized the opportunity to question his credibility, while some of his supporters were left to grapple with the fact that their favorite commentator had shown a different side of himself. The debate over whether his private frustrations were justified or not continued for weeks, with some suggesting that Hannity's vulnerability made him more relatable, while others saw it as a sign of weakness. The incident served as a reminder of the power of technology and the consequences of private conversations being recorded and released to the public. In an age where privacy is increasingly difficult to maintain, public figures like Hannity are constantly under the microscope, even when they believe they are speaking off the record. The incident also highlighted the potential for people to be vulnerable in moments of frustration, reminding the public that even the most confident and influential personalities have their moments of doubt and insecurity. Ultimately, the incident revealed a different side of Sean Hannity, a side that had never before been exposed to the public. His unintentional candidness, though controversial, also humanized him in the eyes of many. Whether or not this change in perception will have a lasting impact on his career remains to be seen, but one thing is certain. Sean Hannity's private moment has sparked a wider conversation about the challenges of navigating the complex world of media, politics, and personal integrity. For now, Sean Hannity continues to stand as a dominant figure in conservative media. His show remains one of the highest-rated programs on Fox News, and his influence in political circles remains undeniable. However, the recording incident has certainly had an effect on how he is perceived, both by his supporters and detractors. As he moves forward, Hannity will undoubtedly face ongoing scrutiny, but his ability to adapt and navigate controversies has been proven time and time again. Whether or not this incident will alter his career trajectory or simply become another chapter in the story of his public life remains to be seen. What is clear, however, is that the incident has forced Hannity to reckon with the complexities of being a public figure in an age where even the most private moments can become fodder for the public's insatiable appetite for information. In the end, Hannity's experience serves as a powerful reminder of the delicate balance public figures must maintain between their private lives and public personas. For those who follow his career closely, it remains to be seen how this new chapter in Hannity's life will unfold. In a rare moment of reflection before his passing, former President Jimmy Carter, at the age of 98, shared a candid and controversial view on former President Barack Obama. The revelation sent shockwaves through the political world, as Carter, known for his diplomacy and calm demeanor, broke his silence on a matter that had long been speculated upon: his opinion of Obama's presidency and leadership. As Carter entered the twilight years of his life, the political landscape had dramatically shifted, leaving behind a turbulent legacy for many former leaders. Jimmy Carter, having served as the 39th President of the United States, was often seen as a moral compass and a gentle statesman who valued humanitarian work over politics. His presidency, which spanned from 1977 to 1981, is remembered for efforts such as the Camp David Accords and his focus on human rights. Yet, his time in office was also marked by a series of struggles, including high inflation, the Iran hostage crisis, and economic troubles that contributed to his loss in the 1980 election to Ronald Reagan. After leaving the White House, Carter continued to shape his legacy through humanitarian efforts, focusing on global health, human rights, and democratic reforms. Carter's career was largely defined by his work in global peacekeeping, his role as an elder statesman, and his devotion to causes such as affordable housing, disease eradication, and international diplomacy. His post-presidential years are often seen as a model for public service, particularly in how he avoided the self-interest that can often taint the lives of former leaders. For much of his life, Carter publicly expressed admiration for his successors, but the statements he made shortly before his death revealed a dissonance with one of the most significant figures in modern American history, Barack Obama. Obama's presidency, running from 2009 to 2017, was filled with moments of unprecedented significance. He became the first African-American president, securing landmark legislative victories such as the Affordable Care Act and steering the country through the aftermath of the Great Recession. While Obama's tenure was marked by deep divisions in the political sphere, his eloquence and charisma captivated many across the world. Yet, Carter's reflection on Obama's presidency was starkly different from the public praise that many others in the Democratic Party had offered. Carter's comments on Obama were layered, and his perspective was informed by his own experiences as a president, his understanding of global relations, and his long-standing commitment to American values. The core of Carter's critique rested on his belief that Obama, despite his immense popularity, failed to live up to the moral and ethical standards that Carter himself had espoused throughout his life. This revelation from Carter's deathbed wasn't just a passing remark. It was the culmination of years of dissatisfaction, unspoken grievances, and differences in how they perceived the role of the United States in world affairs. To understand Carter's frustration, it's necessary to consider both men's political careers and approaches to leadership. Carter, as president, was often at odds with the political elite. His time in office was marred by economic difficulties, but he held firm to the belief that the United States should prioritize human rights, peace, and justice on the world stage. He championed causes that many politicians considered impractical or even idealistic. For example, his administration helped negotiate the Camp David Accords, which resulted in a peace treaty between Israel and Egypt, an achievement that still stands as one of the most significant diplomatic victories in the history of the Middle East. Obama, on the other hand, had a very different approach to foreign policy and national governance. Though he made significant strides in diplomacy, particularly with the Iran nuclear deal and his pivot to Asia, he was often criticized for a lack of a coherent strategy in the Middle East. Many of his foreign policy moves were seen as reactionary rather than visionary, with decisions such as the intervention in Libya being particularly controversial. These foreign policy decisions, some of which did not align with Carter's idealistic approach, were a source of growing tension between the two men. Carter's critique of Obama didn't come out of the blue. It was not merely a result of political ideology. It was a matter of values. Carter had long viewed the presidency as a platform for moral leadership, and Obama's presidency, though marked by significant progress on issues such as health care and social justice, often seemed at odds with Carter's view of how a president should lead. Carter felt that Obama's political maneuvering, particularly in terms of military interventions and his often cautious approach to confronting international conflicts, did not align with the kind of moral clarity that he himself had sought during his presidency. The breaking point came when Carter shared his disillusionment with Obama's handling of the Syrian civil war. As the conflict continued to ravage the region, Obama's decision not to intervene militarily, despite his earlier red-line warning to Syria, was a source of intense criticism for Carter. This hesitation marked a failure to act on the world stage, especially when innocent lives were at stake. He believed that a stronger moral stance, similar to the one he had taken during his presidency, was needed to address such crises. Obama's administration was also defined by its attempts to navigate the political gridlock that often hindered progress in Washington. While Obama was able to pass significant legislation such as the Affordable Care Act, he also struggled to maintain bipartisan support, especially as the political divide deepened during his time in office. Carter, however, viewed bipartisan cooperation as a cornerstone of effective governance. His disapproval of Obama's perceived inability to work across the aisle was another factor in his criticism. Carter had worked with a Republican-controlled Congress during his presidency and still managed to achieve substantial progress in areas such as energy policy and human rights. In his mind, Obama's challenges in forging cross-party alliances represented a failure of leadership. Perhaps the most significant aspect of Carter's reflections was his criticism of Obama's legacy in relation to American values. Carter had long championed the idea of the United States being a beacon of hope and moral leadership in the world. His presidency was defined by his commitment to human rights, peace, and diplomacy. In contrast, Obama's presidency, for all its achievements, was viewed by Carter as falling short in terms of global leadership. The lack of a coherent values-based foreign policy was something Carter could not reconcile with his own worldview. Before his passing, Carter's breaking of silence on Obama was not just a personal reflection. It was a message to the American public. He wanted to remind the nation that the true test of a president is not just in the policies they enact or the political victories they achieve, but in their ability to lead with integrity, compassion, and a sense of moral responsibility. In Carter's eyes, Obama's presidency, despite its many accomplishments, failed to live up to the high standards that he himself had set. Carter's death marked the end of an era for American politics, and his candid words about Obama were a reminder of the complexity and weight of the presidency. His reflections on Obama, however controversial, provided a deeper insight into the challenges of leadership, the importance of moral clarity, and the legacy that each president leaves behind. While Carter's words may have shocked some, they also served as a call to re-evaluate what it means to be a true leader in a world that often values power over principles. In the aftermath of his passing, many continued to reflect on Carter's legacy and the impact of his final remarks on Obama. The tension between their contrasting approaches to governance is a testament to the complexities of American politics and the enduring debate over what makes a great president. As the nation mourned the loss of one of its most revered figures, Carter's candidness offered a rare glimpse into the internal struggles of a man who had dedicated his life to service and moral leadership. Whether one agrees with his assessment of Obama or not, Carter's words will undoubtedly continue to resonate as a reminder of the challenges faced by those who occupy the highest office in the land. In a heart-wrenching revelation, Harris Faulkner, the renowned Fox News anchor and journalist, opened up about her personal battle with a potentially deadly diagnosis. For the first time, she courageously shared her journey with the public, shedding light on the emotional, physical, and mental toll the disease has taken on her life. The diagnosis took Faulkner's life in an unexpected direction when she was diagnosed with a rare and serious medical condition. Though widely recognized for her poise and professionalism as a news anchor, her personal life took on an entirely new dimension as she faced a health crisis that tested her resilience and strength. The diagnosis was sudden and shocking, leaving her grappling with the uncertainty of her future. Faulkner didn't immediately reveal the nature of her condition, allowing herself time to process the news privately before sharing it with her family, friends, and fans. However, the moment she felt ready, Faulkner made a deliberate choice to open up about her experience, hoping to offer support and encouragement to others who may be going through similar struggles. One of the most difficult aspects of Faulkner's diagnosis was the emotional toll it took on her. Like many people faced with a life-threatening illness, she went through a period of disbelief and fear. As a mother and a wife, the thought of leaving her family behind or being unable to care for them as she had in the past was particularly challenging. The news of the diagnosis shook her to her core, and Faulkner admitted that she was initially overwhelmed with emotions that ranged from anger to sadness. The reality of what she was facing felt surreal at first, and it took time to accept that this would now be a part of her life. As she navigated the emotions of her diagnosis, she drew strength from her loved ones but also found solace in her faith. In an interview, Faulkner spoke candidly about how her family rallied around her, providing unwavering support in the face of her diagnosis. Her children, in particular, were a source of both comfort and motivation. Faulkner explained how the love and encouragement she received from them helped keep her spirits high even on the darkest days. "Being a mom is what gets me through," Faulkner shared. "When I look at my children, I realize that I have a responsibility not just for them but to be a living example of strength and resilience." As with many serious medical conditions, the physical toll of the illness was profound. Faulkner went from being a high-energy television personality to someone who struggled with basic activities. The disease affected her energy levels, causing fatigue and weakness that left her unable to keep up with the fast-paced demands of her professional career. She had to make adjustments to her lifestyle in order to accommodate her physical limitations. She began incorporating rest periods into her daily routine, something that was foreign to her given her intense work ethic. Even though she remained determined to continue working, she found herself taking moments to rest and recover, something she had never done in the past. The physical effects also impacted her on a more personal level. For a woman who had always prided herself on her appearance, it was difficult to cope with the changes in her body that came with the diagnosis and treatment. Faulkner found herself confronting her insecurities head-on as she navigated the side effects of her illness. "I've had to come to terms with how my body looks and feels," Faulkner explained. "There are days when I don't recognize the person in the mirror, but I've also learned to love myself in a way I never have before." Despite these challenges, Faulkner found a way to push through. She used her platform to raise awareness about her condition and to show the world that even in the face of adversity, it is possible to remain strong and determined. Though Faulkner faced many hurdles, her recovery journey has been one of hope and progress. While there is no easy road to healing, she found solace in knowing that she was not alone in her struggle. She connected with others who had faced similar diagnoses, and their stories of resilience provided her with the motivation she needed to persevere. Recovery was not an overnight process, and Faulkner was candid about the ups and downs she experienced along the way. There were days when she felt like she was making great strides, only to face setbacks the next day. However, through it all, Faulkner remained committed to taking small steps forward, no matter how difficult they seemed. One of the most significant milestones in her recovery was the support she received from medical professionals. Faulkner spoke of the doctors and specialists who guided her through the complexities of her treatment, emphasizing how crucial their expertise was to her healing process. With their help, Faulkner was able to navigate the medical challenges she faced and take steps toward regaining her health. "Doctors are truly my lifeline," Faulkner said. "I've been blessed to have an incredible team who believe in my recovery and have been with me every step of the way." Throughout her journey, Faulkner leaned heavily on her faith to guide her through the darkest times. She shared that prayer became an integral part of her daily routine as she grappled with the uncertainty of her condition. Her faith provided her with peace and solace, offering a sense of comfort when the road ahead seemed too overwhelming. "I know that God is with me every step of the way," Faulkner said in an emotional interview. "There are times when I feel lost, but I always turn to Him for strength. It's been a constant source of hope for me." Faulkner's faith also served as a source of strength for her family. She talked about how her faith brought them closer together and gave them the courage to face each day with a renewed sense of purpose, even in the face of challenges. Faulkner found that her belief in a higher power gave her the strength to keep fighting. As she recovered, Faulkner became increasingly passionate about raising awareness for her condition and other similar diseases. She used her public platform to share her story, hoping to inspire others who might be facing a similar diagnosis. Her advocacy extended beyond her own illness. Faulkner became a vocal proponent for research funding and resources for those battling serious medical conditions. Faulkner's openness and honesty about her journey resonated with many people. Fans and viewers took to social media to express their support and admiration for her courage. Many shared how her story had inspired them to take charge of their own health and seek the help they needed when facing medical challenges. Through her advocacy, Faulkner hoped to make a difference in the lives of others, offering them hope and inspiration. "If I can help just one person feel less alone in their battle, then I know that sharing my story was worth it," she said. As Faulkner continues to recover, she does so with a renewed sense of purpose. While the diagnosis was a devastating blow, it also opened her eyes to the importance of self-care, the love of her family, and the power of faith. Her journey has been one of both pain and perseverance, but it has also been a testament to the strength of the human spirit. Faulkner's decision to share her story was not just about her own healing but about offering hope to others in a world where so many people face similar battles in silence. Faulkner's openness has provided a beacon of light. She is proof that even in the face of a deadly diagnosis, there is always hope for a brighter future. Kimberly Guilfoyle, a prominent television personality, made waves when she opened up about her experiences with The Five, the political talk show that has become a staple of American cable news. At 55, she reflected on her time on the show, revealing behind-the-scenes moments, personal growth, and what truly happened during her tenure. Kimberly Guilfoyle's career trajectory has been one of significant evolution. From her beginnings as a lawyer to becoming one of the most recognizable faces on Fox News, her path has been anything but ordinary. What's most striking about her journey, however, is her tenure at The Five, a show that helped cement her position in the public eye. Her early appearances on Fox were as a legal analyst, where her expertise on legal matters shone through. However, it was her sharp wit, charisma, and ability to navigate complex political discussions that drew the attention of both producers and viewers. As her profile grew, Guilfoyle found herself at the helm of one of the most watched political discussion shows in the country. The Five was initially created as a panel-style discussion program featuring 5 rotating personalities discussing the day's top news stories, offering a mix of political commentary and humor. Its format was simple but effective, and its diverse panel brought together individuals with varying political ideologies. Guilfoyle's introduction to the show, however, came at a time of transition for the network and the show itself. When Kimberly joined The Five, the show was still refining its tone and message. Its early days were marked by a somewhat chaotic, free-form style as the hosts often veered from topic to topic without the structured debates seen on other political talk shows. While the show was initially criticized for its lack of direction, it gradually evolved into a more polished, cohesive program that highlighted the dynamic between the 5 hosts. For Kimberly, the adjustment was both challenging and exhilarating. She quickly became known for her fiery, unapologetic approach to the news, unafraid to challenge her co-hosts and fiercely defend her own views. Her style was marked by a blend of passion, intelligence, and boldness, traits that made her stand out in the crowded world of cable news. Despite being one of the only women on the panel during much of her time on the show, Guilfoyle's presence was undeniable. She often found herself in heated exchanges with her male counterparts, sometimes clashing over political opinions and the direction of the conversation. Yet her ability to hold her ground and assert her opinions earned her respect among her co-hosts and the audience alike. Behind the scenes, what really happened on set? While much of the public's attention focused on the discussions and debates happening live on air, Guilfoyle revealed that there was much more happening behind the scenes than anyone realized. In interviews, she spoke candidly about the camaraderie and occasional tensions that shaped the show's dynamic. On one hand, there was the constant push for higher ratings and more compelling content. Every host was expected to deliver sharp commentary, engage in spirited debates, and occasionally stir controversy. However, Kimberly's insight into what went on behind the cameras painted a different picture, one of genuine relationships, shared moments of laughter, and deep discussions about the political landscape. She described how, before the cameras rolled, there was often a sense of camaraderie among the hosts. The banter was sometimes playful, with each individual sharing their thoughts on the day's news or discussing their personal lives. These moments allowed the audience to see a more authentic side of the panel, which was sometimes hidden behind the polished on-air personas. However, Guilfoyle also revealed the challenges that came with being part of such a high-stakes show. The pressure to perform at the highest level, to stay relevant, and to keep viewers engaged was constant. There were moments when disagreements spilled over off-air, and the strain of being constantly under scrutiny took its toll on her personally. Yet, despite these challenges, she remained dedicated to her role, believing that The Five was a platform where her voice could be heard and where she could make a real impact. As the years passed and her role on The Five solidified, Guilfoyle's personal life and career began to shift. She became a more prominent figure in political circles not just as a commentator but as a force in conservative media. This transition wasn't without its hurdles, though. Kimberly had always been a fiercely independent woman, but her time on The Five placed her under a microscope like never before. Her relationships with her co-hosts were often scrutinized, with tabloids and social media speculating about tensions or alliances within the group. Guilfoyle revealed how, at times, these external pressures affected her personal life, especially as she navigated the balance between work and family. Despite the public's fascination with her relationships, Kimberly remained focused on her professional goals. She emphasized that her time on The Five helped her hone skills beyond political analysis. It taught her how to manage the pressures of live television, how to craft a compelling narrative, and how to connect with viewers on an emotional level. Her growth on the show was also marked by her ability to take risks. Kimberly wasn't afraid to be controversial when necessary, and she often sparked intense debates with her outspoken views. This fearless approach allowed her to carve out a niche as one of the leading conservative voices on cable news. Kimberly's departure from The Five came as a surprise to many, especially given her integral role in the show's success. Her decision to step away was not an easy one, but it was one that she felt was necessary for her personal and professional growth. In interviews, she explained that leaving the show was a way for her to explore new opportunities and to redefine her career in a way that aligned with her evolving interests and goals. While her time on The Five was an incredibly rewarding chapter in her life, it was also a chapter that had come to an end. She acknowledged that her departure was bittersweet, but she was ready to move on to the next phase of her career. Kimberly's exit from The Five marked the end of an era for the show. She had been a key figure in its success, and her absence left a noticeable void. However, she was quick to assure her fans and followers that her commitment to conservative causes and media was as strong as ever. The next step for her was uncertain, but it was clear that whatever came next would be something she was passionate about. Looking back, Kimberly Guilfoyle reflects on her time with The Five as a defining period in her life. In interviews, she expressed deep gratitude for the opportunities the show provided her and for the lessons it taught her. She emphasized that being part of such a high-profile program not only elevated her career but also shaped her views on the role of media in modern society. Throughout her time on the show, she was able to engage with a diverse range of issues, from politics to social justice, and her commentary resonated with millions of viewers across the country. Looking back, she acknowledged the moments of challenge but also the many victories, both personal and professional, that came with her time on The Five. She spoke about the impact of the show on her personal growth, how it taught her resilience, and how it helped her navigate the complex world of politics and media. In many ways, her experiences on the show shaped the woman she is today. Kimberly Guilfoyle's legacy with The Five is one that will likely be remembered for years to come. As a fearless and unapologetic commentator, she left an indelible mark on the show and on the broader political landscape. Her ability to blend sharp political analysis with personality and humor helped define the show and set the tone for many of the political discussions that followed. While she has since moved on to new ventures, her influence within conservative media remains strong. Her time on The Five may have come to an end, but the lessons she learned, the relationships she built, and the impact she made will not soon be forgotten. For Kimberly Guilfoyle, The Five was more than just a show. It was a platform for her to voice her opinions, challenge the status quo, and leave a lasting impression on the world of political commentary.